Okay, Gwen, we can start with that.
Great. Welcome, everyone. We'll just start with the roll call for the meeting and the minutes. I'm going to do the both of those before we, yes, I guess, okay, great. So you want to do the roll call?
Mayor Giantino.
Here.
Tessa Crawford. Here. Karen Walter. Here. Counselor Cuddy.
Here.
Gwen Weber-McLeod.
Present.
Our other board members are excused.
So, have you all had an opportunity to review the minutes ahead of our meeting? And if you have any questions, comments? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Well, I had to listen here at the meeting.
I was like, is she playing with my feelings?
It's the right thing to do.
You're right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Lacey, do you want to introduce our guest? And then we'll introduce ourselves.
I would love to. So on screen here, bright and smiley, is Steve Surris. He is part of one of the members of the group that is applying for the benefits for 40-42 South Street. This is the property that had a fire a couple of years ago, and they are looking to basically reestablish it as a multi-unit residential property for affordable units. That's what it was before. They're planning on basically reinstituting it as what it was before, in partnership with an operator. They are requesting sales and use tax and mortgage recording tax only. This is not for a pilot. They would be utilizing the as of right affordable housing abatement incentive that's offered by the state, as opposed to using ADA for a pilot, which is what we have been talking about, is that these types of regulated affordable housing projects should be using, either should be going to the city or should be using that as of right exemption rather than coming to the IDA for a pilot. So they're just requesting the other two exemptions, and they are, you have the application, you have my cover sheet that had some of the information that we've collected, and we are not looking to adopt or approve anything today. We're simply looking to decide whether or not to accept the application and move it forward in the process. They are working through the City of Auburn permitting and site plan processes. They did come to the Historic Review Board last week, which, full disclosure, I'm a member of that board. I did abstain from that vote, but they did come before that board, so they've gotten over that step. But I do know the planning department is still reviewing their stuff. So Steve, I'd like to hand it over to you, and you can give a brief description of what you're planning to do and who's involved.
Yeah, I'll give some historical context as well. So one of my partners, obviously, he owned the building, and we'd done a couple of other projects together, and had a pretty substantial fire. The proceeds were not enough to repair the building, as a matter of fact, not even close. And it sat there for quite a while he kind of figured out what to do. And it's been sitting there. So for the last probably 2 years, we've been working with the state to access, and I'm trying to think of the program, small building loan something. I can't think exactly what it is, but I could look it up. And the state essentially loans you a per unit amount, up to a per unit amount based on the construction. We are going to spend about $4 million total, including the contribution of the building. And we will end up with 22 affordable units. They're small, and if anybody's familiar with the building, I think it's about 11,000 total rentable square feet. But we know there's a big demand still. We are going to have it operated by Housing Visions, and I think Housing Visions might be doing some other projects in the city of Auburn as well. But they're a nonprofit affordable housing operator. And, they do a pretty good job. They actually do a really good job. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. So it wasn't doing that.
Oh, no,
Is that better?
we're not getting feedback.
Okay, so I'm just gonna have to listen to myself. All right, let's try that again. So we're going to, we actually were there yesterday, getting a demo plan put together, starting to collect kind of full bids. The architectural work is done. The environmental testing is done. We do have to do some remediation there, but when we're done, it's going to be a full gut rehab. It's going to be all air conditioned and individually heated units, all brand new. Flooring where appropriate, sheetrock, insulation, windows, basically everything from the interior as well as some of the exterior will be replaced, including the porch. There'll be some anything inside of the units primarily that's not historical will be brought up to code. And essentially it's going to be brand new when we're done. The building, I was just looking at it, was originally built in 1870, and it is historic. We do have sign off by SHPO. We're waiting for sign off by NPS. We're excited to do the project. Clearly affordable, especially with for-profit developers putting money in, is challenging to say the least. For anybody that's in this space, most of the developers that are doing affordable housing and most of the people, kind of in that space are not for profits. But we actually looked at doing a regular reconstruction, but obviously with a $4 million budget, the rents in that size unit are just not going to support it. This isn't a LIHTC for people who are familiar with LIHTC. It's not a LIHTC project. It's special funding by the state, again, on a per unit basis. And the state also, from what I've been told from the loan officer, that there's a really low subscription rate on this program because there's not enough money to actually rebuild units. I know, like my recent building that we just redid, we spent $350,000 for like one bedrooms of regular market rate in Utica. So to be able to kind of do 22 units at essentially, 175,000, 180,000 a unit is really strong. I think the only thing we're still a little concerned about is, when we originally put our project costs together, it was about a year ago. So we're going to deal with that with the bank as the time comes, but we do have some additional capacity in our small business funding from the state, small building funding from the state. So all in, I think it's a great project. We're hoping for a little bit more help to push it over. We're getting really concerned about the construction costs, and we're hoping to maybe even close sometime soon. It's been a process. I have not done any affordable before, but we do have Housing Visions is on the development team, and they're kind of helping us through the process, like filling out all the paperwork, helping us, do the budgets, helping us do everything. So, and they've done these before. I've done regular market rate, which is just a different process. It's a different process. You're on mute. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Gwen Weber McLeod. I'm the chair of the Auburn IDA, and I just wanted to quickly go around the room so you hear and or see whoever's in the room.
Hi, I'm Tessa Crawford.
Nice to meet you.
Karen Walter, member at large.
Terry Cuddy, Auburn City Councilor. Nice to meet you.
Same.
Over here, Jimmy Genentino, Mayor of the City of Auburn.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us to give us the highlights and the overview of your project. I know all of us received the actual, your actual initial application to us, and I was just wondering if the board had any questions, comments related to the application. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Gwen. I am interested in, so you are rehabbing the building, but
Mhm.
Housing Vision is going to do the administration of the housing.
Yeah, so they're going to manage and maintain the property. So we have a contract with them that they'll be doing that. We won't be doing any of that work at all. Affordable housing is a whole different world of managing property. I personally always use professional managers. But no, Housing Visions is going to be fully managing the project.
Great, thank you.
Anything else?
Can you see me okay?
Might want to-
I'll come around.
Tilt it, yeah, just tilt it, there you go.
How's that? I have a question for Tracy first. You said this went to Historic Resources where you are?
Yes.
And
Passed.
it passed?
Good.
Unanimous? Was there any neighborhood opposition?
No, actually, the whole group felt really good about it because they felt like current condition, again, I abstained, so just reporting, that current condition of the building is worse than, is bad, and they are making extra efforts to ensure the historic integrity of the appearance of the building, and SHPO has already signed off on it. So all of those things, nobody really had a problem with it, and actually one of the neighbors, Mike Gambuza from down the street on Grover, they have, Greyhound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he showed up and was actually very supportive.
How does it work with the Historic Resources Review Board? I should know this, I don't.
Yeah.
Who gets notified that there's a meeting in a project?
I think it's just like any other, like a planning board process,
Somebody
similar
see?
to that. So,
Okay.
I'm actually not positive, but
Okay.
yeah, I think it's similar.
And you said you're based in Utica?
Yes.
What is your company?
I'm an individual investor. My background is, I got a minute. So I'm a CPA who ran a company. We started with 10 people, ended up with 1,500, and sold the company. A little of that, I'm getting a lot of feedback again. I don't know if you guys can mute quick.
Oh, I almost just hung up on it.
There we go. Thank you. So I started investing probably 7 years ago or so, 8 years ago. And in Utica, I'm partners on, in the Utica area, 3 different buildings, a 64 unit with 20,000 foot of commercial space, a 57 unit that we just finished. And I have another 8 unit, and then I have 40 units in Bonita Springs as well. So this will just be my 5th project. All of them have been gut rehabs except for the Bonita. We've been doing those one at a time as move outs. Then we rehab them. But everything else has been a gut rehab with historics. 2 of them historics, 1 not historic.
Are you buying this property, or are you partnering with the people who currently own this property?
So what's happening is the current owner is Carmag Enterprises, Drew Savino, who will be a partner in the new project. So we're buying the project out of Carmag into 4042 South. I think we're spending like $400,000 or something for it.
Is that just Mr. Savino, or is Mr. Grillo involved in this property as well?
He'll also be involved in the new development, who's also my first cousin.
He's also what?
My first cousin.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Oh, my questions mostly have to do with,
So I was looking at the very well put together market study report that came from you. So I was just kind of curious, when you do like the comparison to rent, it looks like there's not really anything from Auburn. And I'm sure it has to do with more similar, like, smaller city areas. But, is this because there isn't anything in Auburn that you feel like that they found was comparable to be able to give to like a current price point for rent?
Yeah, so the CPC, who's the State Finance Corporation, something like that. Community Preservation Corporation. It's like a state financing arm. Actually asked for that. We didn't do it. They did it. I mean, we paid for it. So I'm not really sure what criteria they use to do all those things, but obviously they look at, is this project going to be viable in terms of, resale or things of that nature. But ultimately, the the way the financing works is part of the financing is I'm going to call it market rate, but it's a little bit above market rate. That's your CPC, and then you use your state funding, which is 1% interest for 30 years. And they just want to make sure that the CPC note is covered if anything happens. The state is pretty heavy. We have an annual reporting with insurance and maintenance and issues with the tenants and all those things that Housing Visions is going to take care of. But ultimately, the way they do that market analysis doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's not how I would have done it. But then again, we built our first rehab here in Utica. It was hard to find something comparable as well.
Yes, I have a question. So the soft costs
Mm-hmm.
and the actual costs and so forth, are you handling them without aid from New York State at this point?
That's right.
Okay. And had there been 22 units prior to the fire?
There'll be 22 units afterwards. There were 22 units beforehand. There'll be 22 units afterward.
And you mentioned that Housing Visions would be doing the management of, so they would be vetting people as to whether they're appropriate for that type of housing? Or what is the...
Yeah. So my understanding is that there's a lottery. And essentially what they do is get that feedback again.
Feedback.
Is they'll go through their process and collect applications for a certain period of time, and then they pull them out of a hat if they meet all the requirements. I'm using pull them out of a hat. I don't know exactly how they do it, but randomly select them. And then those people will be determined whether or not they're able to, if they're still eligible at the time, to be able to access the units.
So is that considered part of the management, the jobs created, the maintenance and the management?
Correct. They have a full-time manager and a part-time, I think a half-time manager and a full-time maintenance person. And then whatever they have, that won't be in Auburn, but it'll be in Syracuse, whatever their back office is.
Housing Visions will take care of...
Sorry, you're gonna have to repeat that.
Okay. I lost the flow of the conversation. Tessa had asked about the market study report
Mm-hmm.
and the price points, and then you said something about Housing Visions would take care of that.
Yeah, so Housing Visions will have a full-time maintenance person, a part-time manager, a half-time, and then their back office administration will probably handle like the applications and that kind of stuff. So have somebody deal with like the tenants on site, walkthroughs or whatever needs to be done. And then there'll be a full-time maintenance person as well. That's what they're telling us.
Steve, hi, can you see me? It's Gwen.
I can.
Am I still on mute?
No, we're good.
Okay, great. So I'm the chair of the board, so I do agenda planning with Tracy, and we were talking about this project. So as you're aware, from conversations with her, that later in this meeting, our board is going to be considering the adoption of a new uniform tax exemption policy.
Mhm.
And that outlines our policies and procedures for providing incentives. And the new policy aligns with the city's land sale policy. And this allows providing incentives to housing projects whose owners who had delinquent taxes or serious code violations in recent. So our policy is not in effect right away. So this isn't disqualifying for this particular project, but there's still important considerations to us. So in doing the due diligence for our project, it became apparent that there had been a history of both tax and code violations in recent years on the part of the owners of other properties. And it's our understanding that the tax delinquencies have largely been addressed. But we're wondering if there's any additional context that you'd like to provide regarding these issues.
Yeah.
That would be helpful for our board deliberation.
I think a couple things. One, I'm not partners in any of those. I think that's probably the most important thing to state. The second thing is my understanding is that there was a huge settlement with the city, and the city refunded all of those violations in back taxes, and that there's ongoing litigation to resolve the differences because they put a serious hindrance on those properties. I don't know a lot more than that. You guys would have to talk to city council. City council has been informed that we're in this process by their attorneys. But ultimately, really the most important thing is I'm involved and I don't run my properties that way. So if you guys want to check with City of Utica or Town of New Hartford or, Bonita Springs taxation, I'd be happy to get you some contact names and you can see the properties I'm involved in. But I don't do that. So I think that's probably the most important thing. Additionally, Housing Visions handles all of the money. So they basically they will not only be collecting, but paying all the bills before we have access to anything else. You're on mute.
And the piece of this that I think is relevant to us is that our new policy will align with the city's land sale policy, and it disallows providing incentives to housing projects whose owners have a history of those two things. And so I'm sure that we can get Tracy to do some follow-up on what you're sharing with us. It would be important to us that your partners understand that we had this conversation with you as well, and that we're concerned about it, right? And so it's not disqualifying at this time because our UTEP is in place. However, when it is in place, that would be very helpful. And of course, this stuff is public information as well. So we want to make sure that should we approve this application. Let me just say that philosophically, we get it. We're a board that's interested in providing affordable housing. It's also important to us that the people that we do business with are also serving the community well with other properties that we own. And we appreciate your interest in making this investment in Auburn. However, it's important to us that you know that we're aware of this and it's on our hearts and minds. And then if you could notify your colleagues of this as well, that would be helpful. And then I guess, Tracy, if you want to do some additional resources, I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth. I don't know. So Tracy's the person. So if you could do some additional research, I know that would be a concern of all of our colleagues that are present and those who are not. So we look forward to getting that information, okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Tracy told us obviously that this was something, and I know that some additional information was provided to her. I don't really know what it was because I stayed out of it. That feedback, sorry. So I'm not party to any of that legal information. So, but my understanding is that they provided a bunch of that, but obviously I understand what it is, and they're aware as well. I think the two most important factors, again, is that I'm involved, number one. Number two is that Housing Visions is involved. and Housing Visions will be handling all of the proceeds and paying all the bills associated with the property. So they handle all the money. So essentially they have site control through the management agreement. They have site control, financial control, to ensure all the bills are paid and things are taken care of.
The one thing that I can add on the litigation right now is that in talking with Drew, one thing that he explained to me was that, many of the, or there was, and you two might actually know more about this, I don't know to what extent you can even talk about it, but there was a twofold issue with, the code violations. One, I don't know the details of this, but it sounded like there was some kind of issue with a specific code officer. And I don't know anything more than that, nor do I have any details about it. But the other one was actually just how fees were being implemented. And so a lot of fees got returned, and this is coming from Drew again, a lot of fees got returned because of the way in which the fees were charged, more so than because of any inappropriate violation. There was an issue with the fee structure. And so I guess the code department has addressed this.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's all fixed up, but then that's basically what was explained to me as part of the litigation.
yeah, my thing is, if stuff is in litigation, I don't want to talk about that. It's just important to me that Steve understands that this is a process issue for us, and that it's critical that we have clear understanding about the status of this. I'm hoping that these issues can be resolved. And I'm also sharing this with you because I said all of this is public information. And so we want to be helping you manage optics, us manage optics, and our reputation in the community. So if you could just let your colleagues know that we had this discussion with you, I'd appreciate it.
Well, absolutely.
For the funding, the small, building participation loan program, is that application been initiated, or, how does that, on the continuum of things? So you've got a contract with Housing Visions, you've got an alliance there, and you've got the Historic Review Board, and they are, pleased with the design of the project, the renewal of the building. So how does the funding piece come in?
Sure. So we've already been approved by CPC and by the state for the PLP funds. So essentially what's happening, where we are in the process is we are 90% done with architectural. We're doing construction level drawings. We've already done the environmental, and we've also carried the building. I think maybe we have 150,000 or 200,000 into it so far. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. But we've already been approved, and we're essentially right now, this is one of the last pieces to get to the closing table. I'm sure they're going to need an extra this and a legal that, because that's how it works. But ultimately we're already approved for both pieces of funding. So once we are hopefully approved here, and we know we have a closing date, we're gonna pull a permit, and we're gonna start funding on our own while we wait for funding to come from the state so that we can get the place gutted. I was there yesterday, and the building is structurally it's fine, but inside it's rough. It needs a new life. Just seeing buildings like that is sad. I like older buildings. I like rehab. I think it's fun. But ultimately, to answer your question, we've already been approved. I can get you the approval letter if you guys are interested in it. But we're waiting to get to a closing table pending this being one of those items.
Thank you for sharing. What was the value of the approval?
2,650,000. And then we're using equity value in the building. And we are, oh, yeah, that's a construction loan. And we're also getting about 800,000 in historic tax credits. I think we're coming up with like 800 and something thousand of our own money when we're done. This is my first time doing one of these loan programs, and I'm very hopeful because it makes an investor be able to actually, earn a rate of return on affordable housing, which is not normal. So if I'm making money, then I'm going to want to keep the property up, and I want it maintained well. You see a lot of properties right now around the state, in the country, where they're not maintained well. Once they get through their tax credits, they basically just toss them. So this, from the forecasting that we've done, we feel like we'll get a rate of return on it that'll, return our equity over the next 30 years plus, a fair, I think it's like 6%, something like that. With somebody else managing it, it's a decent rate of return. So obviously, I'm not going to want to give up my equity or my rate of return. So it's a little bit different program. It's just not enough money really to build an apartment. $150,000, even with addition, it just doesn't go very far anymore when you're spending $250 and $300 a square foot. And HCR, has very specific requirements that make it, there's more involved. They want to make sure things are done, they're done right. That involves a lot of administration, a lot more than probably a market rate than what we would normally deal with. But the building's ready for it. It's in good shape structurally. Again, we're going to do, full gut. So it's going to be really nice when it's done.
Very good. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Nick. So the next item on our agenda would be to have a motion to accept the application. Do we need to do anything prior to that?
We're gonna vote on this.
To accept the application, just to
Just
accept the
accept,
application.
just to accept it, not to approve it.
All right.
Do you understand what I'm asking us to do? Okay. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so this motion is simply to accept the application. Can I get a second on that? Thank you. Any more questions, comments? No? You know what we need to know for now? All right, given that, all those in favor to accept it?
We'll need a roll call.
Okay, go right ahead. Call the roll, Ms. Lee.
I would love to call the roll. Ms. Crawford. Coulter. Dr. Cuddy.
Yes.
Beverly McLeod.
Minus a yes.
Mayor Gentino.
Yes.
Others are excused.
Thank you. So, Tracy, I suspect you'll follow up with Steve regarding this. Steve, you're aware of what our concerns are, and I'm confident that you'll speak with Drew and, I forgot the other college, your cousin's name. Right? Right?
Grillo, yeah.
Yeah, right, great. Thank you so much. And, going forward, Tracy, what's next steps for us and for Steve?
So I'll keep in touch with the city planning department, because really we're waiting on their review of the site plan before we do anything. Ideally, I would like them to do seeker, so we don't have to. And once we have that feedback, we can bring this back for a vote on approving the benefits. And in the meantime, I'll work with Steve and Drew and Brendan to get more clarity around what we can get clarity around with the litigation. And
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
attending our meeting.
Thank
and
you,
for
Tracy.
continuing this conversation.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for all your help, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
that at the end. Here's our first resolution for the evening. Okay,
Oh, sign it?
yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
So the next item, great question.
I'm confident we can do it.
This seems to be a, ongoing issue.
Who are you looking for? Brian or Tony? Because I saw Tony leaving on my way in.
Multiple courts.
We're here.
Having a
We'll tell them
conversation in order.
That's fine. Why don't we just keep moving through our agenda?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is we're gonna move into the business section of the agenda. And this first topic has to do with adopting a UTEP.
So what I will, say is that, there's kind of two things I'd like to go over really quick. One is that, Rod did reach out to the affected taxing jurisdictions and asked for their feedback. The only feedback we got was a letter from the city via city manager Jenny Haynes, supporting us working on this UTEP, amendment, and basically speaking in favor of what we're looking to do. So, she appreciates us including the housing component, and, oh, this is for Washington Street Partners. I don't know why this is from me. She sent a very similar letter about this, but she sent a letter in favor of the new UTEP document. So in terms of that feedback, that's all we received. And then, the other thing I wanted to talk about was in that housing supplement, in the scoring criteria, we have that one section that's about, the corporate social responsibility, where you can get 1 point if you just pay a fee to get you over the hump to get to that enhanced pilot. And I talked to Gwen about this, and I talked myself in and out of it multiple times in that conversation.
That was not a good process. I'm just a real process partner.
But I do have some concerns about it, primarily that it could start to feel like a scenario. Obviously, someone making that kind of a contribution is not gonna be the only thing that is giving them that enhancement, which is helpful. It's also, kind of like a light version of a community benefit agreement, which other IDAs do, where they require someone to pay a fee to go towards community programs. This is like a smaller version of that, but I just want there to be complete transparency about, you know, there could, including this, in there could be questions about, like, are we accepting payment in exchange for extra incentives? So I just wanted to throw it out there, since I can't seem to make up my mind about it. I just wanted to throw it out there, have a conversation, and make sure we're cool with this.
So basically what you're saying is that this is optional,
Yes.
as it is now. But you are also saying that there are other similar kinds of situations where it is mandatory, meaning like there's a community benefit. You think making it basically mandatory would basically like clear out any confusion of that?
So the thing that concerns me about it is that rather than it being mandatory across the board, is actually helping someone get to a higher level of benefit. Whereas when we look at a community benefit agreement, it's every project has this fee associated.
So that, I guess that's what I was getting at, like,
Yeah.
is there a problem with having that built in?
Just any housing pilot or any pilot? No? We could look at doing that as part of our fee structure, granting some community benefit, as opposed to doing this. 'Cause like this, I wrote in as a way to say like, hey, if you're doing like 3 different things and you're still only at 4 points,
This could be a,
support our priorities, and it's gonna put you over the hump to get into that next level.
But then I guess what the question is define what the priorities are.
Yes, which we have done. I believe we set it out as housing development, economic development, or business workforce. Like we have specific types
okay,
of things.
all right, fair enough.
And we talked last month about finding a way to create a list of organizations who would accept support too.
Okay,
So we can very much define what is acceptable in that regard.
but it is an incentive to, I mean, your concern is that is the appearance of that. But if it is basically like all the potential benefits, like this does this does allow people to choose and.
Yes, yes, and I mean, like I said, if someone is not meeting any of the other priorities that we laid out in the scoring, this isn't gonna get them anywhere.
So yeah, they didn't get to that.
So, this is really just in those circumstances where someone is meeting multiple of our priorities and they're just still not hitting
Thank you.
5 points. So it's not like someone can just come in and pay for the enhanced
Yeah,
pilot.
gotcha, yeah, that's fair.
They have to be meeting other priorities as well in addition to business.
Okay.
You're saying there is the option of, if we don't have it as part of the scoring criteria, we could follow the pattern of other communities and have the community benefits with the
A community benefit agreement.
right, that is then just like a flat fee or something that companies need to just make this investment.
Yeah.
In our priorities.
Yeah, or you and I talked about, assigning a fee to deviate from our local labor policy. There's other ways to generate community support. And I think we can explain this piece of it, and I think this is not actually unreasonable, that it's a way to encourage the priorities of our board and our community as it
Yeah.
comes to housing. I think it's more of just like, be aware of this potential feedback.
Fair enough.
So after a week's worth of processing, what's your gut saying? This will help us, help you.
I
The
would
question
go
I asked
back
you
and forth
later.
every 5 minutes, which to a certain extent was like, me going back and forth every 5 minutes tells me we should probably do this, because I'm not. Even though I'm the one who told you to do it in the first place.
How does this, I hear you, because you're our expert, so I trust your gut about it. And the other option of the community benefit agreement is becoming more and more common. How does this affect our ability to vote on this?
I think if the board wanted to just strike that scoring criteria, we would just,
Just
approve
that
the
one
resolution
scoring
as amended. Right,
Okay.
Rob, could we do that? Up there.
I'm here. Yes.
Yeah, so Rob, could we just strike that one scoring criteria and vote on this anyway?
Yes, you can.
But it's like we're asking, we need a motion to amend the UTEP.
I think it would be a motion to accept the resolution with the amendment of striking that scoring criteria, a second, and then.
Everybody hear what Tracy said, who's gonna make that motion?
Yeah.
People watching these recordings are probably like that. So if someone could make that motion, the motion that we're asking for is to accept the resolution as presented with, an agreement that we are willing to strike that one criteria.
To amend.
Yeah, to amend that, yeah.
Okay,
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. Any more discussion about that? We all have shared understanding of what we're doing. All right, all
Yeah.
those in favor, do you call the roll call?
Crawford. Okay. You like that piece?
But this is just on the amendment,
No, it's for the whole thing.
whole thing?
Yes, no.
So I'm, it,
shouldn't have even asked.
I know,
That was
it's okay,
inappropriate.
no, it could have been anything, it could have been anything, no, but it's okay. Yeah.
Counselor Cuddy?
Councilor Cuddy?
Yes.
Mayor Giantino?
This is passed with care. However, thank you very much. So the resolution has passed with the amended criteria.
Does it pass?
Does
Did
it
it
pass?
pass?
No,
Do we have?
it doesn't.
It doesn't pass.
It doesn't pass, because we don't have five, right, Rob? We need 5 votes. Yeah.
So you only have 8 members,
We have 9 members,
There's
that
9
counts as
but there's
9.
a vacancy.
But the total,
It's got to be a majority of the whole.
Yes.
The whole.
So what if there's 1 vacant?
So that means you got to have 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't pass.
It did not pass.
So,
We'll get back to it.
okay, great.
We'll keep working on it.
Right.
Did,
And
did,
Karen didn't specifically understand.
I think I understand.
Okay.
Right, and, you know, and I just, so for transparency, so I don't mind, explaining, I just don't know how this, and I would even consider a revote if either Rob or there could be an explanation, is how are we going to explain, controller, how does that dovetail in with employment?
I can
And I know
very
that,
well explain this.
okay, and I know that Syracuse IDA does it all the time. And I don't know how they're able to, and I'm uncomfortable with, well, we just don't count it.
So that's not something we've ever said about housing, that's something that we said about mixed use where there's
Right.
tenants.
Right.
For housing, the comptroller has issued an opinion that rental housing is commercial and can be done by IDAs. So there is an opinion on that from the comptroller. And, there's many IDAs across the state that are doing,
I know they are.
and part of it is that the state, basically, everyone has gotten on, like,
board.
well, not on, I won't say on board. It's become a crisis for, I think that's where it comes into play, is that
Okay.
our
No.
employer, go ahead, Rob.
So the comptroller's opinion is actually quite old. I think it's from the 1980s. It's been used very often, and the comptroller has not come out the other way, which it very well could at any time, and say that no, these projects are not commercial. So in the absence of any contrary authority from the last 40 years or so, we all treat it as pretty well settled.
Okay.
And it's, you know, some IDAs have been doing this type of stuff since the 80s. Obviously, that's why there was an opinion at that point about it. And I think especially right now in the climate where housing is a priority for the governor, you know, that could also change with the governor. But what it has really started to come down to is that employers are saying we cannot hire people and create jobs because people don't have anywhere to live.
Okay.
And they're saying this across the state. And so employers are coming to IDAs and saying, we need your help in getting housing built. Because the system is not working for housing development right now, and we need housing development. And so while it doesn't translate to jobs in our reporting, which I think is really what you're asking about.
Right.
There is, at this point, an understanding. So when they look at our reports, they're looking at what did we say was going to be created versus what actually was created. That's the big deal. So obviously they want to see jobs, but when they start coming and asking questions, it's why did you say this project was going to create 20 jobs and it only created? So this is where we start getting questions from the ABO and from the comptroller's office when we get audited is, do you have an explanation for that difference? So for us to put into Paris, 0 jobs are being created, and 0 jobs have been created, that's less of an issue than if we say 20 jobs are gonna be created, but only 10. And that's where we ran into issues with the monitoring on our audit, was like, we have a few projects that have hit barriers or challenges, and we're coming out of COVID, and they didn't feel that we had enough follow-up to understand why those differences were there.
So with this opinion from the comptroller's office, how would that be treated? We have a project that comes before us, and we have the UTEP, and how would we treat that? Jobs created or no jobs created?
No jobs created, because there aren't jobs created, unless they have like a maintenance staff, if they're gonna hire a maintenance staff or an office person to manage the leases, we can count that as a job. And we would need to monitor that. And that's how that would be treated, but, you know, we wanna be realistic about what jobs the applicant is creating. And we wanna be reporting on the applicant. So in a case, like Park Grover, like this project, there's gonna be specific management roles that are gonna be created for maintaining and administering the housing. And so those are the jobs that we're gonna count. We can't count the jobs as that the people who live there fill, because.
Right, no, but the, even the construction job,
Yeah, we would count construction jobs
we would count those.
and report on those.
Okay, but we did not do that on Dill Street.
We did do construction on Dill Street. We did amend that application page to make sure that we were reporting on the construction. We just can't, it just becomes very difficult to report on the tenant. The construction jobs, we are accounting for that one.
You need to sit with this for maybe another meeting, Karen?
I would even, Rob, can you give me that link for the opinion? I can read while we're doing other things. Is that possible?
No, it's not going to be possible to do right now.
Okay.
So would you prefer that we table this, Karen, until, well, they didn't pass anyway?
Right,
Right.
right.
But I think, are we all having shared understanding of the piece of information that Karen's seeking clarity about? And I want to make sure that I'm hearing you. I think what I'm hearing you say, Karen, is that you want to have deeper understanding of this because our applications ask people to tell us about job creation.
Right.
And in certain scenarios, when we're dealing with housing, that may not be as clear and simple as in other cases. So we want to make sure that should we accept an application and that piece of it isn't included, that we're not out of compliance. Right. Okay. Right. I know she got to make sure I got it. So, all right. So, Karen, we just need to get. So it sounds like you reading the opinion would be helpful, and then maybe Rob, if there's other, or Tracy, if there's an example that we can share with Karen, so see that.
Well,
that would be. But any other information, Rob, that would help Karen get to what she needs.
Well, what I would say is that when you're dealing with these types of projects, if you look at ADA's governing statute, job opportunities are only one criteria out of several. Health, general prosperity, and economic welfare of the people of the city. So job opportunities was one. You got health, general prosperity, and economic welfare. So what I would say is that let's take, for example, let's say you had a health facility with minimal jobs created. Let's say it's just creating 2 jobs for nurse practitioners or something like that, or a doctor and a nurse practitioner. Would you not be able to do that project? The answer is yes, of course you can. Healthcare facilities are in your statute, and it advances the health of the people of Auburn. So when you read that through, It's not every project needs to create jobs. There's other criteria that can be met. So I think if you look just at the governing statute, it doesn't create an issue. What the comptroller is saying, and what I think you'll read in the opinion, is where the challenge came, where the difficulty came, was housing is not listed as one of the types of facilities that an IDA can clearly undertake, and the comptroller said no. It falls under the rubric of a commercial project. So it was not. If you read that opinion, it's not solely based on the jobs. It's based on whether a project of that nature can satisfy one of the categories that's set forth in the statute, and those are
So,
medical facilities, industrial pollution control.
I follow. So when the Paris report is done, is there a place that it's indicated it's a commercial endeavor? And then that would like trigger whether or not there's really going to be significant or any job creation or not?
They ask for job creation, they don't set a threshold of how much job creation there needs to be. So the law is, and correct me if I'm wrong, lawyer, the law is not that every project has to create a job or that certain types of projects create X number of jobs. The law is that they need to fall within these categories with the goal of creating and supporting jobs, economic development, and community benefits. So we're not trying to meet a threshold of jobs for any particular, like, we went through this with solar. When solar development started getting big and started coming to IDAs, we kind of went through the same conversation of like, we have these really big investments that are creating 0 jobs. And like, what does the comptroller think about that? And they ended up coming around and saying like, yes, and they added a solar button to Paris so that you can say it's a big investment with no jobs because of the solar. And I would not be surprised if something like that happens. Potential, it has not yet. But also, we're not gonna be in trouble because we're not hitting 10 jobs for a commercial project. Does that make sense?
The other thing I would point out is that this organization has done at least 2 residential properties, and I don't believe that the comptroller has raised problems on that basis.
No, we did. So we've actually done a number of them. We did Logan Moss. The Bartolotas on John Street and East Hill and State Street, all of that is in one pilot, and that includes some houses that are multi-family houses as well as apartments within mixed-use buildings. And then we've done another one. But yeah, we've had a few. Ada's done a few projects that have probably been more problematic at the local level than at the state level.
So is it is this problematic to go another month? Or is it, time is of the essence? Because I'm satisfied with those, as long as Rob can give me that opinion, I'm satisfied with, the explanation. If it's,
I don't expect to get another application. So we already have one in the pipeline that, we're kind of working through our old process to do. I don't expect to get another one in the next month. So personally, I would prefer that you have time to read the opinion and feel confident and to do this.
We'll bring it back up next month.
we'll
It didn't
take
pass
it.
today, but
Well, this didn't pass, so we can just bring it back.
And then I can make those adjustments and you can feel real good about it.
All right, very
Yeah.
good. Now, as you just all know, as your chair, that it's really important to me that you all have the information that you need. I don't believe in quickness and qualities. It's not disrupting something, that we need to do. I still don't. I don't know how to negotiate for more time. But, Karen, I always appreciate your perspective and your point of view and the depth of information that you seek from us. We all learn from that. So we will pick this back up in our December meeting. Great. Thank you so much for your inquiry. Thanks, Rob. Trace, would you like to go to the RFQ?
Okay, all right. So the next resolution, the RFQ is related to the UTEP, one part of the UTEP that I added in, which is fine, we can still move forward with it.
Okay, all
We
right.
don't need to, it's fine. Because this is a list that we're gonna have to build, it's gonna take a couple months anyway. So, a different part of the UTEP that I added was to say if someone wants to deviate, they need to, be subject to and fund some sort of a third-party study to test a reasonableness, to make sure that we're confident that if they're getting more than what we're saying in our UTEP, that is necessary to make the project. So that gives us a level, that gives the ADA board a level of comfort to know that if you are going above and beyond the offering in the UTEP, that those extra benefits are warranted to make the project. And you're not having to guess about it, which is sometimes the hardest part. So what this RFQ is set to do, we talked about it a little bit last month, is just go out to all the firms that do this type of work and say, okay, give us your fee structure. We create a list of qualified firms that we're comfortable with, and then the applicants can choose who they want to work with, and they would need to pay. We wouldn't be selecting a specific firm. We would just be creating a list of firms that work. So this RFQ would just go out to the consultant community. I can think, well, MRB is one of them, full disclosure, that would probably respond to something like this. We're not selecting MRB specifically. I don't feel there's a conflict there. Or we're not selecting a specific firm. I don't really feel there. Moyne would probably respond. There's a handful of firms that would probably respond, and you could review. So this RFQ would go out. I would set, doesn't have like a due date in, but I would get it out in the next week. Probably give it 6 to 8 weeks to come back, and we would review those and come up with our list.
So, this informational, do we just need to vote on this?
So the resolution is just to release the RFQ, and so that we can go out and start getting.
Need someone to.
Yep.
Okay. It's in motion now. So I'd like to entertain a motion for, the ADA board to release an RFQ. By the way, right? Second? Thank you, Mayor. Any more discussion about this? Everybody understanding what Tracy's going to be doing as part of it? Also, if there's no more discussion, roll call?
Roll call.
Do your thing.
Ms. Crawford. Ms. Walter. Mr. Cuddy. Reverend Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Gentino.
Hi.
Oh, I said hi. I'm like, that's not appropriate.
Because I'm like, Mayor, where were you? I'm back, baby. Okay, great. The pilot in, that you. And then pilot invoice disbursement.
Yes, we did. So that was in the packet, the pilot invoice and disbursement report. As a reminder, those are all due January 1st. So again, nobody's late. I have done some follow-ups to, just with folks we haven't received payments from yet, to make sure that they got them, and they have been responding and saying, we're on it, we'll get it to you on time. We just got another one that came in that's wasn't on the list. WST 33, which is Plaza of the Arts, came in this week. So we'll probably have to disperse that one before the next meeting, but that one has also come in. So they're starting to come through. Feeling good about it.
Good thing. We're glad you're feeling good about it, because we are too. And then Trace, it looks like you have just a general update here.
Open board seats. Gotten an update that our preferred person has been asked and is thinking about it. And then, just
May I ask, is that an at-large one?
Manufacturing.
Manufacturing, okay, very good,
yeah.
thank you.
so hopefully, says yes. And would it help or hurt if I walked in and was like, hi, how do you feel about it?
Did that Saturday, she wasn't, like, was last or Friday. Featuring.
You know what else on my home? I saw that she does like infused honey. And I might have a little kid's birthday party there just to be able to join in on that.
Well, obviously, we really would like to invite this person. She will respond.
The county budget request is moving forward. The $107,000 is in the original budget, so they're working through that process now. And the chairman feeling good about that staying in the budget, but it is a hard budget. So that is just continuing on. And just a heads up, we don't need to do anything about this tonight, or probably even within the next 2 months. But one thing that has come up is that the county is struggling with how the timing of our billing for pilots is, because we are using the current assessment year at the prior year tax rate, because we bill before the new tax rate comes out for the county. And so I've been communicating with the county about potentially making a shift in the timing of our pilot billing. I've talked to the city manager, I talked to Tessa, and so I'm just talking to all the players to figure out if that would be problematic for anybody. And if the easiest thing would be to make an adjustment to bill in January instead of in October. But if that's not possible, we can still bill in October for city and school, and then bill in January for county. We can find other solutions. So just a heads up that this conversation is happening, and hopefully we can figure something out so we have enough time to give people a heads up that the timing is going to change, but I don't disrupt. Just a heads up that the conversation is happening, and you'll be hearing more.
All right, next, Tracy and Tessa, your bills and the treasury.
So I just signed for the bills. So the 2 pilot payments that were received that needed to be dispersed within 30 days were received from the Auburn Community Hotel in Prison City, and then we just have the 1 invoice for MRB. So I was going to start with the balance sheet. Are we putting that up, or no? It's okay. Okay,
This is the thing.
so.
I got it.
So, okay, well, I did just make some notes on it. So when we met for the finance meeting, I think we referred at the last, we haven't met as a finance committee yet, but still looking in the QuickBooks file, like there's not too much information than what's reported on the bills and invoice report. So when I went through, just to verify, we have that Shimon checking account, that's for pilots. We discussed setting that up so it's an in and out that is reconciled, or it shows a balance of $76,000, but that's just because of the 2 check payments that are outstanding. So that's still going in and out and meeting that 30-day requirement. Our operating has $19,000. We did discuss last time about renewing the CD that's in there for $25,000, and we had a 3.7% interest rate. And then we just have a $25,000 in the money market as well. In the accounts receivable, so I noticed that received, but in, where was this beautiful report that I did? Pilot payment, where did I just put it? Oh, it's right here. So usually presents this report to show the pilot payments that we've received. And I think, did you add this recent column that says, like amount dispersed, to be dispersed, but once it's received? So anyway, it's very nice. Ties very nicely into our account. So for our accounts receivable, we have $790,000 of pilots, and then about $35,000 of an admin fee. Our furniture and equipment, you'll notice on the balance sheet that it looks like it decreased, but that was just based on our audit report that we had, and really that, like our actual assets. The accounts payable is just the MRB invoice, and then that gets us down to the net asset piece, which I know I keep bringing back to, just because, just wanting to highlight the one big project that we get could make a huge influx to this as well. So, but that, where it says the net income is a negative 39,000, you'll see that we are under budget of about 38,000 of revenue, and then also the interest income, which makes sense because interest rates are still doing pretty well, down from last year, but it also is based on how. And just a reminder that a couple of years ago, or not even a couple of years ago at this point, when Tracy came up, we had way too much money in there because the payments hadn't. So good, like good and bad problems. But that was all I know.
So we need a motion to approve the payment of the bills. It was one invoice for MRB. Can I get that motion? Second, all those in favor?
All right.
Okay, any questions? Good. And then we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then that would move us towards an executive session. Do we want to go into executive session this evening?
I would like to, financial history of a particular company.
Okay. So I need a motion for us to go into executive session. Thank you. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now entering executive session. I don't know, the more we talk about it, the more we need to know.
I think we had our board education.
That's right.
My
Thank you
little
very much.
hiccup, but,
No, you're,
yeah.
listen, better be safe
No,
than
that's
sorry.
okay. No, I don't want any of you to ever
that
feel.
O-ring would not have been a problem. We would have all those astronauts during that meeting.
That's right, the one last
Somebody
thing.
said.
The best training video on the planet. So the last thing is there any board updates?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, there's no
I
hard
just-
we're done.
I just have one question. Have we adjusted our administration fee? Is
We're
that
gonna
part
start
of
working on
it?
it. It's not a separate, but
We'll have a
that's the
Thanksgiving.
next step, but I have
Okay.
a policy.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've already started
Um,
drafting it, I just haven't.
No, I missed last month and I wasn't sure. But
Policy's next.
but I appreciate your indulgence.
Oh, no, I don't want any of us, I will never put this board in a position of calling a vote if there's one piece of DNA in the room I'm not comfortable with it. The only update that I have, just real quickly, is Tracy and I attended the, community, presentation done by NICEC on the rate increase process that they're in. It was very informative, a lot of it.
Goosebumps just hearing it.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was an interesting presentation, as you all know. It's quite complex, and one of the things that they're looking for entities to do is to lend their support to what they're asking, the Public Service Commission, right, to do. So my take, and at the meeting I just said this, that it was really interesting, that it would be helpful if they could provide talking points to those of us that we need to communicate with people that we might be asking to sign on to something about the business case about this, in a way, of kind of what's in it for us. And then the other thing we floated was the idea of whether we did a singular letter of support or multiple ones, that we at least try to be speaking in one voice about it from an economic development perspective. So I just suggested that the team that meets every 2 weeks, whatever, kind of get together around this and help us figure out how to move forward. I spoke to the CEO afterwards, and I asked her, would one letter do the job or multiple letters? She said, multiple letters is fine, but if we had one letter with like all of the leaders in the county that would be impacted by this, saying that we understand why it needs to. The cliff note about this is it's ways of generating revenue that would fund projects that really are important to our capacity to provide power to companies that are coming and wanting to do it. Tracy asked a really good question. It's an interesting tension, right? It's either going to be on us or through taxes one way.
We're paying it no matter what.
Exactly. So it's very complex.
But if it's in an area that's not our area, then we're not able to.
They were talking specifically about our area.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Yeah, Chuck went for me, because
Yeah,
I had
Chuck
another
went.
meeting I could go to, he kind of gave me the
Yeah.
same thing, like, the letters kind of outlining what it is, what our needs are
Right.
here, right? Like, so when they're going to the Public Service Commission, it's like, okay, yes, there's a recognition by Auburn and Huey County that there is this capacity, but they need this
Exactly.
in
So
order
make
to
it
move these
tailored.
projects along.
Right.
You are right that, and listen, we passed a resolution, I'm not happy about what they're doing, but you're right, if NICEAG can't raise the money, either the state or the federal government's gonna come in. Because when I've called Schumer's office about our power issues in Tech Park, the first thing they say is like, well, get an idea together what you need, we'll figure out how we can help fund it. I'm like, well, you're not hearing what I'm saying, right? Like, you're just gonna throw money at the problem, right? I felt a little better about, not that I agree with it, but I felt a little bit better about what they're doing based on Chuck and Ted meeting,
Right.
explaining everything.
Right.
He was saying, like, for years, there was capacity here, but the demand has increased and the capacity hasn't
Right.
increased to meet that. And he's not wrong, right? Like, you go in your house, how many things you got plugged into your house? Like, it's nuts, right? Like, it's absolutely nuts.
I also wouldn't put it on the data centers and, yeah.
Madden's got a data center, I know what our power requirements are, we just did a $2 million expansion to it, like,
But you've got a good neighbor in that substation.
but there's only so much power that, and that was, no, it worked, they said that, they're like, well, we've got unlimited power. I'm like, no, we don't.
You don't.
No, we don't.
That is not ours.
Yeah.
So, honestly, one of the things that's high level, and then I'll get out of here, is that, I've been talking to Tracy that as we kind of stabilize some things, that one of the things that maybe we could do would be to become the host, the catalyst and convener of conversation, simplify these kind of issues that affect everyone. That, and as Ada, why we would want to be making sure that we at least have high level shared understanding. This was one of those topics that I thought about, right? I said in that room, my brain had to ratchet up a bit. So let's just keep this in mind, because that's something we could do that I think would be good positioning for us, but also let us keep our finger on the pulse of how people are thinking about issues that we're not talking about.
But if you remember at the energy meeting component at Cooperstown,
Right.
one of the things that they had said was that for years, we would have the rate increases go to households with the goal, and there would be buildup, right? And then that would benefit the families that are paying, and then that really didn't happen. Well, now, they never went ahead and said, well, we'll roll back those costs.
Sure.
It's this, and then to infinity and beyond. And I mean,
Yeah, it's
it's
very
the whole,
complex.
you know.
So, prior to us leaving, I was at Thanksgiving, I just want to let you know that I'm very thankful for your presence in my life. I'm to the city of Auburn in this way. And I'm thankful for all the hard work that we've done together and our shared expertise to bring Ada to this place. I think we're very impressive, and I'm really excited about our future and heading into 2026 for this. And thank you for believing in me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
know, thank you, and it was good because you were very transparent, you know, in that mode,
Right.
right?
All right, thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a good
Thank you all. Thank
Now
you.
adjourn.
Motion to
Jimmy and
adjourn.
Terry.
Motion to adjourn, so moved. I'll second.
We're out of here.
Thanks, Rob.
Tracy, I can help you.
Thanks, Rob, happy
Help you
Thanksgiving.
unpack
Happy
everything.
Thanksgiving, there's so much to be thankful for.
I'll be right back.